two, one. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Delusions of Grandeur. I am your host, David Streggy, and here in the room with me, I have my good friend Kroll. Hello, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Over in the far east, I have my fiance Tammy. How are you doing today?
Okay.
And Boris, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
So today we are going to go on about, I guess this is Kroll's favorite film, or one of his favorites. Is this your favorite film?
Star Wars is my favorite films, but
Okay.
yeah, it's definitely my top comedies.
It is a 1955 film that was directed by two different people, Melvin Frank and Norman Panama, for Paramount Pictures, and it was released in Technicolor and Vista Vision widescreen format at the time. The film stars Danny Kaye, Gladys Johns, Basil Rathbone, Angela Lansbury, and Cecil Parker, among others. So let's the story kind of the film centers around Hubert Hawkins, a carnival entertainer working with the Black Fox's band of rebels, and it's basically a parody of Robin Hood and his merry men. But there are definitely some other things that are going on in this film. But before we get into that, let us go with our first impressions. Kroll, was this a first time watch for you?
No. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen it or exactly when I've seen it for the first time. My mother loves this film. My whole family, my sister, uncles and aunts, my grandmother's grandparents, they just like the whole family loved the movie, and so I've been watching it since really young. I was definitely a kid. Like I said, I can't tell you the first time I saw it. I've just seen it so many times. Absolutely love the film. Before last night, it had been a while since I've seen it. But I pretty much know most of it by heart. So it definitely, I definitely could have come on here without watching it again. But I definitely wanted to watch it again because I just love the movie. So it was a great film. Absolutely love it from the moment the credits start to the moment the credits end. It's hilarious.
And I just want to say something. Kroll's mom just recently passed, and I want to dedicate this episode to his mom, since this was one of her favorites. So
Thank
I
you.
hope you don't mind that.
No, thank you.
Oh, I didn't know that. My condolences as well.
Thank you. Yeah, she passed of COVID 2 weeks ago. Oh, 2.5 weeks ago now.
Yes,
Oh,
we're
wow,
very
really?
sorry to hear that.
So going over to you, Tammy, was this a first time watch for you? I mean, technically it was a second time watch for both of us, eh?
Yeah. I found it really enjoyable. It's definitely comical, and it's got the little bit of drama in there too, but Danny Kaye is just
And romance.
a little bit of romance. Yeah, he blows my mind with like the stuff he comes up with. you know? And it's like, I don't know how he keeps, I don't know if, when this movie was made, if they did like lots of takes or whatever, but I tell you what, there's some of the stuff he does. I don't know how he did it with a straight face. So
Going over to you, Boris, was this a first time watch for you?
Yes, this was the first time, and it was a good movie. It was pretty enjoyable. Maybe I wouldn't say it was quite funny all the time, but it did have enough humorous moments, and it also had an exciting story. I generally do like stories of overthrowing tyranny, so that was definitely a plus for me. Uh,
Except, had you ever seen it done with midgets before?
no, I haven't.
This was a second time for me, although I swear I was having deja vu the first time that I watched it. So I think I may have actually caught bits and pieces of it like at one point in time and just never associated it with this film. So I'm glad that that Kroll, you told me the name of the film, and I'm glad that I was able to procure a copy to see it. And
Yeah,
I love Danny Kaye. I mean, he is a comedian that kind of goes under noticed sometimes.
oh, he's just so incredibly talented. I mean, I mean, all his movies, he's good, but I feel like this is just like he just goes beyond with. I mean, I have no doubt that he did a lot of ad libbing. Like you can just tell that he did a lot of ad libbing. That it was just his creation when they were doing the films. So yeah.
And this is not Boris and mine. This is not my first introduction to Boris with a Danny Kaye film. We actually covered The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, which had Danny Kaye as well.
Oh yeah.
Which then we covered the remake of it, which
I actually have not seen the original. I saw the remake, so
yeah, the original had Danny Kaye in it. So it was entertaining to watch because he had a tongue twister of words in there because he. I think there was a fantasy that was done in there where he was like a German teacher of some sort, and it was a blast. But let's get into the characters here. We have the Black Fox.
the real Fox the Fox.
This is definitely a musical.
Yep.
If you notice, the lady who played beside him, not the one who played the princess, but the one who played, yeah,
the captain.
That was Glynis Johns, who also played in Mary Poppins.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She played Mrs. Banks from Mary Poppins, the original Mary Poppins with Julie Andrews.
Original? There was a remake?
There was a return to it.
Oh, I did see the return, but yeah. Okay.
And I believe there was a cartoon or something like that in between, but other than that,
I know it's not a cartoon. And there was the making of Mary Poppins.
Yes, But yeah, Gladys Johns, she's a brunette or brown haired lady in here, where she was a blonde in Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
uh,
Very gorgeous lady.
oh yeah, but yeah, I could tell that it was her because of her voice. Because what did we think about um, Danny Kaye's character as Hugh? I believe his Hubert Hawkins.
He was just absolutely great. It's really great. I love how in the all he wants to do is fight. And of course when he gets the chance, he's not quite up to the task. But it's just the setup is so great. Like everything goes completely wrong. And he just accidentally goes through with all their plans, with everyone's plans, without the knowledge of most of the plans, because he gets bewitched, and it's just the way they do the movie. It's so great. It's so great. And then of course they think that he is the Black Fox because he's so good at what he did. And, so yeah, I love his character. Absolutely love his character. And Jean is named Jean the captain. I love her character too. And she has a nice soft voice but commanding. So yeah, definitely great character. You don't really get to see a lot of the Black Fox, even though his name is all through the whole film. But yeah, he's definitely basically Robin Hood. So
Oh yeah, the Black Fox. Well, is the background character that is trying to usurp the king back to like who he's supposed to be. And this is the basic plot of the novel. Apparently, there is a lasting line of the royal family that has a birthmark of the Purple Pimpernel
on their butt,
on his posterior,
on his left butt cheek,
which
right butt cheek. I don't know.
You gotta love how the beginning narrative of this it was like once upon a time there was the Black Fox and the who is the guy who's sitting on the throne now? Isn't he like Richard?
Roderick something.
Roderick the Third or something like that. Well, he's on horseback, and they're looking for this child that has the Purple Pimpernel on the royal posterior. The way they say it is kind of funky.
The Purple Pimpernel. On the royal, on the royal birthmark in the same spot as everyone has it.
And basically, Danny Kaye plays this character where he makes us think he's the Black Fox with the song that he sings. What did you, Tammy, think of Danny Kaye's character?
I thought that he was great. He was quite humorous, and he wanted to be able to fight with everybody, and but he was kind of like the Black Fox is like I guess you want to say like maybe gopher or sidekick, you know, because he whatever the black fox told him to do, he went and did, you know. So, but he wants his approval to fight with them very, very badly. So he just goes ahead with everything, and then you know later on in the story you'll see how um he's in a way he reminds me of like the Three Stooges, how he gets in these situations and but yet they work out, but it's comical how he gets into these situations. So
Yeah, totally.
Uh,
He did such a great job of being, uh, playing Giacomo and the fool, and and then playing the debonair Giacomo, who was under the spell, and he was, you know, so romantic and everything, charming, everything,
yes, and to be able to change by the snap of a finger.
What
I don't
what
give a
did
fig.
you
I don't give a fig how you feel. Don't yell, snake. Nobody want to snap at you. No snaps at me.
what did you think of Danny Kaye's character in here, Boris?
I thought he was pretty good. I found it rather impressive how, whenever he found himself in some unexpected situation, he managed to find his way out quickly enough, which I'm not sure I would be able to do, because when I have some problem to solve, I need my time to sit back and think about it, which he didn't have time to do, yet he managed to uh, do what needed to be done without screwing up too much. uh,
I thought that Danny Kaye's character was like uh, out of seeing many different roles. Like this was one of the ones that I think he took on more than most because he had to uh, tell some of the story to me in like that first song that he sang. He sang about the black fox and what kind of person the black fox was and how much he looked up to him and stuff like
Actually,
that.
that wasn't the first song though. The first
No, it
song
wasn't.
was the beginning with credits. Which, like I said, is funny. Just the beginning credits is funny. Which, funny movies. They're funny, but usually you don't get the funny right at the credits, at the beginning credits, and then again at the end credits. So definitely more unique there. That it's from credits to credits. It's funny.
True. I do like that beginning credit scene because he keeps kicking Basil Rathbone's name tag off like he's not like the main character. He is.
Yeah. Dave Rathbone keeps coming back, and he keeps knocking it back, and it keeps coming in all different ways. It's coming, and yeah, definitely hilarious the way they did that, and like I had said on a different podcast that Basil Rathbone is an expert swordsman, and he's the one that taught Danny Kaye. He taught Errol Flynn. If most people probably might be familiar with Errol Flynn, he was known as an expert swordsman, but this is the guy that taught him. So he obviously he's the bad guy, so he loses. But it's just he does such a great job.
It's funny how Basil Rathbone he like you said tutored both Errol Flynn and Danny Kaye in sword fighting, and Errol Flynn played the original Robin Hood,
Yep.
That at least the one that we know.
Yep.
And then this was the spoof, So
Yeah.
so it's kind of like Basil Rathbone sheltered in the mockumentary era.
Yeah, he did them both. Yeah.
Now, if I made
and this was done way before Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Oh yeah, way before 1965. So, this as much as I love Robin Hood Men in Tights, but yeah, they're definitely different movies. They're both spoofs on Robin Hood and both comedies and both very funny. I'd have to say Court Jester though is I had it up on Robin Hood Men in Tights. I mean, that was a great movie, like I said, but
now if I made a Robin Hood spoof, it would probably be named Robin Hood.
Robin Hood.
I bet except made with owls.
I bet it would be a hoot.
Thanks.
But in any case, so the plot line follows Danny Kaye's character, where he is tasked with Jean to shelter the child till they can get him back on the throne again, basically. Or actually, it was to originally take the child and bring him to the forest so that they could bring him to the throne at an opportune time. But in the journey to do so, they were able to come across a court jester that was evidently coming to the king's court to evidently, as we find out later, assassinate the king. But this is a perfect opportunity for them to place someone in the king's rule or in the king's company in order to get this whole fiasco to happen. And
right, they need to get a key to unlock the underground tunnel to get in there to take over and overthrow the king. So they need somebody that can get in there, and the court jester is going to be that close that happens to come along.
Correct. And that court jester that comes along is actually played by Keith Carradine, or one of the Carradines, John Carradine. And he's a little bit younger, but not too much younger. But I can definitely tell it was him. They knock him on his head, and he takes his clothes. And I like this little song that Danny Kaye sings to the child as it's going to sleep. For some reason, it's just so gentle and so mesmerizing of a song. The song that he sings, it's so beautiful.
It is, and it's funny how you see the captain looking at him holding the baby, and she's just like, she can tell she's fallen for him, like she just she's into him, even though he's not a fighter, and she's the strong one, she's the fighter, and he's the funny one.
But we do have to mention the fact that he dressed himself up like an old man right before this.
Stutters. What took her so long? Stutters.
Why was she taking so long?
She stutters.
Well, yeah, she's doing sign language. She's answering the questions in sign language, and he's like, she does all these signs, and the guard is like, "What?" And that's when that comes in, like you guys said, what took so long?
It's hilarious. I love it. I love it.
Well, and he keeps acting like he can't hear him.
Yeah. My hearing is. You don't have to yell. My hearing is fine.
My hearing
Well-
is just fine. You don't have to shout.
Well, what about it? But what? Have you seen a group in the forest? Ask the girls you've seen a group in the forest.
It's a little bit funny, and
A little bit.
yeah. But ultimately, he dons the Giacomo, the
Comparable.
the incomparable, and
The king of justice and the jester to the king.
correct, which obviously is written on the side of the wagon that he ultimately travels in, which evidently a wheel falls off, and he's fixing it, and is evidently the same soldier who came across him before comes across him then, and recognizes him, but not from where.
It's I don't want to skip the part where they're laying together. There's only the roof is all wet and everything. There's like only one spot where it's not wet, and he's like, "You go ahead and take it," and she's like, "No, you'll be no good to us sick if you get sick. So come lay with me," and then that's when you find out that they both have feelings for each other, and they end up kind of kissing, and but they're like, we can't do this until things are different, and he's like, it could take 20 years, and she's like, or 20 hours if we could just get our plan together of getting someone in the castle and getting the key, and Danny Kaye's like, oh, but how are we gonna be able to come across somebody who's intimate of the king and everything, and all of a sudden there's a knock at the door, and that's when Giacomo enters and says who he is, and they're like, you're gonna be an intimate of the king and with access to his chambers, and then he picks up a big stick, and he's gonna knock him, but he just looks like, yeah, I can't do this, and she just grabs the stick, walks up, whack, knocks him out.
And then, of course, he's told that there is someone who is already there at the king's castle that is kind of inside, and
but isn't told who, because just in case they torture him, he doesn't give him up.
Correct. And the way in which to have that person recognize that they were of the Black Fox's troop was a way whistling a tune, which he kind of uses it in several of the songs that he sings too.
Oh yeah,
like
it's great.
Intermingles it with his entrance song.
Yep.
But at the same time, Jean is on her way with the babe, and because there are soldiers out looking for women to rescue, wenches to
beautiful wenches.
They're out looking for beautiful wenches, which is kind of weird because you'd think that soldiers would be like in town looking for wenches, not like out like on the road or whatnot. But
they were rallying them up everywhere from gullies and villages and stuff. They I think they were in between villages. They were just about full, so they were probably going back towards the castle, and that's when they ran into Jean, and of course she was gorgeous, and
of course she is brought in on a wagon full of wenches,
Well, she was in her she was actually brought in on with her wagon.
Yeah,
Her wine
but
wagon and the baby.
No,
But-
when they got into the castle, she was on that wagon with all the girls, and she kept whistling, doing the whistle.
yep.
They
They
brought
took
her what they brought her wagon with, but she was actually on the wagon with all the girls.
Yep. So, she whistled that secret whistle, and the dude came over, and she was like the babe is in the thing.
Given to the
Take care
jester.
of him.
They said the jester hasn't arrived, and she's like, "Oh, something must have happened. You take care of the baby. I'll get the key." Because
Of course, when the jester comes and he whistles that tune, the dude's in the background trying to get his attention, but Basil Rathbone's character ends up sallying forth with his right hand man, and so he thinks that this man is
he
in
thinks
fact
it's him. And now there's another plot that there's Basil Rathbone's character, and that our plot. They have their own agenda, and they have enemies within the court. And so when they hired Giacomo, they also had one extra skill. He's an assassin. So his agenda is has an agenda. So when Danny Kaye's nods at him, he nods back because they got their little thing that he's his assassin. But Danny Kaye's character thinks he's the guy that works for the Black Fox, and that's why Gene couldn't tell him who it was, because he's the king's right hand.
Meanwhile, there is another plot that is going on with the princess. The princess is played by Angela Lansbury, who was in Bedknobs and Broomsticks, if anyone knows that film from Disney.
Yep, and Mother She Wrote.
And Mrs. Santa Claus, if I remember correctly. But she is definitely very young in here, very pretty.
18.
She's 18.
Yep.
She looks like she's older than 18.
She does look like she's a little older than she actually is, but yeah, she's about 18. I love if it pleases me, you will marry Griswold. If it pleases you so well, you marry Griswold.
Oh yeah, I thought she was a pretty interesting character actually, because she is one where we kind of see some moral grayness,
oh yeah,
she is in. When she is in conflict with her father, you will take her side. But then again, she threatens to kill this witch Griselda, whoever she was to her. I forgot.
The king wants to kill Griselda for filling her head full of nonsense, and she's like, "You harm one hair on her head, I'll throw myself from the highest turret." So she saves her. So she thinks, it seems like because she's like a mother character, so she loves her. But then you see a little later where she's like, if I don't get my prince, then first she tries to poison her. She's like, "Take this poison, because I'm going to kill myself, and you're going to die too." She's holding a dagger on her and stuff.
She's basically threatening everyone around her just to get her way.
Yeah,
and I know she definitely doesn't want the suitor that her father is trying to pass her off to.
Griswold the Grim and Gruesome.
And no, because I would, if I were a woman, I would probably want to marry for love too. What about you, Tammy? What did you think about the princess?
I agree with her that she wants to marry for love, but she is a typical spoiled princess too.
Well, you
Yeah.
see that the king is not just wanting to marry her for the alliance, though, because he's like, she'll take her away up north, way up north, and they all chuckle because he may love his daughter, but she drives him nuts. So he's trying to get rid of her too,
Well, yeah. One does not
Yeah,
always want to live with one's family members. Not every single day. I mean, you can have children and love them all you want, but sometimes even the best of family members can grate on your nerves.
Yeah. As much as I loved my mom, I couldn't live with her again. It was just, it was hard enough the first time. At times, she was bipolar, undiagnosed, for a long time, and we thought her mood swings were diabetes. Yeah, come to find out, it was bipolar and really bad, and completely undiagnosed until she was much older. So it was interesting, I mean, she was an absolute great mom, but and wacky and funny, but definitely almost like a snap of the finger, she was a different person. So.
Well, back to the character of the princess, where she has seen Giacomo on his way in and has found his look to be passing pleasant, and has set her eyes on Giacomo to have her Griselda make him fall in love with her. And not a moment hence. So, what do we think about Griselda as a person? What about you, Tammy? What did you think about Griselda?
She's basically there to please the princess, and she's somewhat, I guess, of a witch. So, but she wants to do everything to please the princess. So she's gonna, she promises her this and this and this, and does everything that she's, to make it happen.
Well, I thought she was simply a person in a survival game where two different sides were threatening to kill her, and she was doing whatever it took to get out of this whole mess alive, I guess.
And what about you, Kroll? What did you think about Griselda?
Griselda?
Yeah,
she was definitely I don't know, she was definitely kind of like the mother's character, and caring. She cared about the princess, and then of course she cared about her own neck because she didn't want to die. I mean, I'm sure even though the princess knows of her tricks, I'm sure she could have probably gotten out of it. She could have done something to stop her, but she obviously cares for the princess too, so she wanted to do her bidding, even though it was under threat, every chance she got. What I loved about it is she's always around the corner listening on things, and she finds out everything is going on, and that's why she ends up killing the three guys that Giacomo is supposed to kill, and with poison, and because
because I think she's actually in on what Basil Rathbone's character I think is planning.
No. She wanted to kill him because they were talking, saying no matter what on our lives, we will make sure that the princess marries Griswold, so she can't have that. So she's like, okay, these guys got to go. So she doesn't know that Basil Rathbone wants to kill them. Me too. She just wants to get rid of them with her own ends and the princess's ends. So like I said, all the plots are come together perfectly, but they don't know of each other's plots. It's all these
In
little subplots that they don't know about the other ones. And Danny
in
Kaye.
a way, this story kind of reminds me of Cyrano de Bergerac, that type of character where Danny Kaye's character has to play this character, and no one knows that who he is underneath all that, except for the bare minimum, Gene, and possibly the stable dude, But okay, so basically he becomes the jester, and he wins over the king in his performance, which I love his performance, where he's given the child the basket, and he's asked what's in the basket, and he's like, it's just my jester basket of tricks, and then he goes into a song.
Well, actually, he says at first he says, "Oh, what basket?" He's like, "What?" The king laughs because he's saying, "What basket?" Because I was the basket right there, and then he starts going into a song about it, and then then he finally says it's just this bag of tricks, and then he goes into the whole song about. When I was a child, I learned. I was a child, and I was. They sent to see what I would be, and they said, "Be a jester, a funny idea, a jester."
And I love how he goes. His facial expressions, whenever he goes and does his mother and does his father, and jester.
I got a bow and arrow. I learned to shoot, and then I learned to flute, learn to toot. Now I can shoot and toot. Ain't I cute?
It's just amazing how he can keep going and going and going like that.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like,
I remember lots of his lines and stuff, but there's no way I can remember it all. I mean, as many times I've seen this. It's just
when he makes fun of the Spain dancing, that's kind of comical too.
And he hurts he stomps his leg down, and then he's like, "Ooh!" And he's hopping around like he hurt his leg, and
well, and he's like, "Julia, da 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 da," and then of course they stand. It's just definitely some humor, and you could tell that people were enjoying his performance too. And then, of course, it's found out that he's got the handkerchief of the princess. Well, actually, Griswold comes in, and we see him. He's like this big, stout Bruno of a character, and he's very regal, and he's come for the hand of the princess, and the princess comes out and basically says that I've fallen in love with Giacomo.
Oh, she doesn't say Giacomo. She says, "I've fallen in love with someone," and he's singing, and he's saying, "She fallen in love. We'll kill this cur. What's his name? Giacomo. His name is Giacomo. No." He realizes they're talking about him, and then they're saying he has his handkerchief by his heart. And of course it's there, and he's probably looking like, how the fuck did that get there? What the hell is this chick talking about? Because he was bewitched and doesn't remember any of it. So
the whole time he's sitting there, the king keeps kicking him. He's kicking him, and he's kicking him.
And then he probably goes to the other side. Says, "Would you like to kick the other side, sire?" And I don't understand why the king was. I mean, I understand why the king was kicking him a couple of the times. But the other times, like, okay, why is he kicking him out? He's just having fun kicking him.
Hey, he's just having fun abusing the shit out of him.
Yeah. It's
But
I mean,
like
he's
you
a
said,
king. He can do what he wants, right? But
he doesn't remember the handkerchief because he had already been put under that spell, and when somebody snapped their fingers, he was,
yeah, we forgot that scene where he pops up into the bed. The witch bewitches them to be charming and this and that and daring and adventurous and romantic and everything that a girl would have loved. Just the perfect man. And he goes in and he swoons her and then they make plans and they're gonna he gives her the key that he had just gotten from Jean when he was still under the spell and didn't even realize he had the key, and he gives it to her and she takes the key and puts it in her breast, I guess in like our
and of course when her father comes, they're snapping at each other, and
at first
he
tells him
literally
to hide,
snapping.
and he's like, I don't hide from anyone, and then there's a snap, and then he's like, and he hides behind the curtain, and they keep snapping, and every time he puffs the curtain because he's gonna fight, and then he snap back, and he goes, and he hides back again, and back and forth. It was just absolutely so funny that they're constantly using the snaps back and forth. The king's like, don't snap at me, and she's like, I'll snap at you if I want to snap at you. And then she finally feels the key. She's like, okay, father, maybe I've been too harsh. I agree. I'll do as you wish. And then he's like, oh, that's a great daughter. Blah, blah, blah. He's shaking her the whole time, and all of a sudden the key falls, clank, and they both go to step on it, and the king steps on it, and he's just like, he's so mad, and he grabs the key and he's like, this will not leave my side. So the key that Jean had gotten is now back with the
king. Which then is noticed by Jean, which he's in the hallway like right around the corner, and from what I understand, this is before the jester has to go and entertain the king.
Well, the jester was actually at the beginning. The king wanted to inspect the wenches, and they said, "Why don't they have the jester do it? Because he's been known to get around." And he's like, "Oh, you've had some experience." And he goes, "Why do you think they call me the Indomitable?" And so then when she's talking to him, the king comes up and he's like, "Oh, this is the wench you must have chosen," So it was, like I said, everything worked out perfectly to all the subplots without the knowledge of the people. It's just really great the way they did it, and then she sees the key and looks at Hawkins like, "Why the fuck did you give the key back to the king?" And she's looking at the king
because now she's got to charm the king.
Yeah, she doesn't get. I love the whole story. She's like getting him dressed, and then she's sitting there talking, and he's trying to move in on her, and then she's talking about her father dying of the scourge and scurvy and lying on the floor in terrible pain and agony and all this other stuff, and then she's like, "I'm sure it's not catching." Just because my whole family had it, and then he finally starts listening. Like, wait a minute, what? And then and then he starts backing away, and she's moving closer, trying to pretend like she's wants him and everything. And she's like, "Oh, take me. It doesn't matter. We'll make mad love to me." And he's just like, wait, and then he finally gets up, and she has the key, but he's like, okay, he's like, I gotta go now, and he's like, don't touch anything.
For that matter, Tammy, what did you think about the king as a character?
Well, he definitely likes his women, that's for sure.
His wenches.
And he wasn't supposed to be king. So, when he's with all the advisors and everything, he's normal corrupt king. So
Well, what about you, Boris? What did you think about the king as a character?
Well, he's a typical tyrant, so there isn't much to like about him, and the fact that he got to that position by uh, getting the real king killed makes it
Well, yeah, he
even
murdered the
worse,
whole
of
entire
course.
royal family, but
He,
they missed a baby.
yeah.
With a very specific birthmark.
Well, they all had a birthmark. They all had the birthmark, and in the same spot.
On their arse.
The Purple Symphony. On their butt cheek.
The color purple was definitely prevalent in this film. I have to say.
Yeah, I couldn't.
It was
See, this movie definitely would not work in black and white. It's got such great colors and vivid colors. Especially Danny Kaye's outfits as the jester and the whole court and everything. It's so colorful. So definitely would not work as a black and white movie at all.
I have to agree. This film was definitely meant for color, and that comes a lot from me, especially since I've seen a lot of movies in black and white,
and you love Danny Kaye in black and white too. So.
Yeah, well, yeah. I was used to the world of black and white, and so when
I was used to
color
the first TV I had was black and white, so it didn't matter if the movie or TV show I was watching was black and white, was color. I was still watching in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's why I learned. I ended up not liking black and white for a while because I was forced to use it. I was forced because I watched the TV in the living room. It was color TV, and then I watched TV in my room, and it was black and white, and it was just definitely lame as far as I felt,
That was kind of how I was too. When most of the extra TV I got to watch was if I was by my great grandparents, and their TV in the living room was color, and then if I wanted to go watch something on my own, it was a black and white TV.
Yeah. I mean, I guess. Even at that age, considering how poor we were, I guess I was lucky I had a TV, my own TV. But yeah, it was a 13-inch black and white TV. So go put that in your mind. A 13-inch. I mean, computer monitors are a lot bigger than that now. And this is my TV as a kid. And not flat screen. It was these big ass TVs. I mean, the screen was only 13 inches, but the TV was so big.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
you could pull out your back if you tried to pick that thing up. It was so heavy.
Well, no, the 13 inch was not. But my grandma. Now, my mom had a Zenith, so she had it was heavy, but it was manageable. Now my grandparents had one of those built-in TV, the huge hutch with the built-in TV.
With the record player on top and the 8-track player and
like two grown men would try to pick that up and struggle. They'd be like, oh, trying to pick that thing up. There's no way one person could pick that up.
Council TV is what they were called.
Yeah, and I don't even know how they even ever
I had one of those for a long time, actually.
What?
I had a console TV for a long time.
Yeah, I've never owned one like some of my grandparents on my mother's side. They owned it and loved it. Yeah, my grandmother. There's definitely older people that don't like TV, but my grandma definitely was a TV and a movie, but physically a movie person. It was funny. My poor grandpa. He'd always want to watch sports, and my grandma watching the movie, she'd fall asleep. Every time she'd fall asleep, he'd switch it to his sports. She'd wake up. I was watching that, Iva. My grandfather's name is Iva, and you know, and she put her movie back on. Poor Grumpy never got to watch his sports or his shows because Grandma had to watch her movies, and even though she never really watched the movies, and he said that a couple times. She looked at him like, "What are you talking about?" How dare you say like that? And she did the same. It was funny because my
And
mother,
that was
Rebecca.
probably when there were only 10 channels on.
Oh, not even that. And yeah, it was like 38, I want to say, 25, and then of course 5 and 9 and 12 and 4 and 10 and NBC, and 6 and 7 CBS, and ABC, NBC, and CBS, and yeah, it was, well, Fox, but it wasn't Fox yet. It was 25,
Well, yeah,
but it
you were
wasn't Fox
fucked
yet.
if the president had to come on.
And then you had 38, which played like usually old movies, and then 64 came later. I was young when 64 came in, but and oh yeah, we had 68 as well. Also older stuff. Usually played more the UHF stations were the stuff that kids would watch more. Where the main show was a lot of news, except for at night when they had start having the good TV shows and stuff. But yeah, my grandparents basically was taking care of me. My mother had a really severe car accident, and she couldn't literally lift me up or anything. So when I was really young, they were basically like my parents. My mom was around, but they took care of me. And my grandmother I'd be like, I'd be watching a movie with my grandmother, and she'd be like, it's bedtime. I'm like, oh, can't I watch this movie? And she's like, okay. So she would say okay, thinking I'd fall asleep, because I'm a kid, and she would fall asleep, and I'd be watching the movie. Then she'd wake up much later when when the movie's just about over. And she's like, "Ronnie, what are you still doing up?" Like, you said, I could watch the movie. And she wouldn't. It wouldn't just do this once. This would happen all the time. She would just, she would just thinking that I'd fall asleep, and she'd be the one falling asleep, and I'd be up late. I was a night owl from the minute I was born. Not quite as late as I am now, but yeah. So it's funny. We went off a little topic there, but sorry about that. But yeah, I saw these interesting stories. So.
It seems
Okay.
to be what we do.
Yeah, it happens.
Well, certain memories of movies trigger certain things from our childhood, so it's understandable.
Yeah.
But in any case, getting back to the plot in hand, I think we're at the point where the handkerchief has been discovered, and the problem at this point in time is that he is not a royal man of any station. So they basically decide to rush his knighthood in like a day.
And this was Basil Rathbone's idea.
This is where we get kind of a montage,
because they think that he thinks that he's the Black Fox because he figures out that he's not really Giacomo, because the agent shows up and says that's not the guy I hired, and so it must be the Black Fox, So we'll have him do one more thing for us, get rid of Griswold, because they know the Black Fox could easily kill Griswold. So they're like, we'll knight him, and they're like, knight the jester, knight the jester. Knight the jester. And of course they tell the jester that he must become a knight so he can be worthy to marry the princess. And then he tells Jean that we're gonna knight the fool, and he thinks he's for the hand of my daughter, but it's so he can Griswold can run them through, and then they can get married. And so she sends a note to Hawkins to get the hell out of there, get the hell out, run for your life. They're gonna kill you. And of course he immediately tries to run, and immediately that's when they come to get him, and he ends up hiding right where he was supposed to go in the first place to go into the game. Bad place to hide, buddy. Yay,
Well,
early, yay.
and then of course, they put him through a series of tests, uh,
must climb
which is
a
kind of
wall in full armor.
so they
They
lift him up over the wall and
passed. Then he has to shoot this bird that they just threw up. All of a sudden he's about to shoot the arrow and the bird falls dead. Passed. But I didn't even pass.
I like the next one, the rest of the wild boar.
He must
And this
fight.
cute
He
little
must fight a
piggy
wild
comes
boar.
out.
This tiny little piglet comes out. And you don't see him crushing it, but evidently he crushes it or something, and like passed. And
Yeah, did anyone else feel kind of sorry for the bird and for the pig?
oh, I did. I did. I was like, oh, poor little piglet. Even though he was bacon, you know, or sausage.
one of the two, at least,
Or
because
both.
hot dog skins are made out of pig's intestines, don't you know? But in any case, moving on, so he gets sort of knighted, and I love this knighting scene for some reason because he gets
It's
stuck.
hilarious.
He gets stuck in this long line of soldiers as they go through their paces.
Yeah, and they're going their whole lines, and they're all going in between each other, you know, flawlessly, except for him. He's going in between them all, but he's getting lost. But he's still navigating perfectly in between them, but being lost. So it's like he's doing double the work that the rest of them are doing, and he's making it look like he's the bumbling idiot doing it while he's doing it. So he's doing such an awesome job of going in between all the people and keep going into different lines and stuff, and they keep blocking him every time he tries to move, and it's so great. It's so perfect.
You do notice that they do rewind it one time, just so that they can do the scene again.
Yeah, it's really funny the way they and of course they're all moving super fast. They had done a regular knighthood before that where they all moved nice and super slow and talked like this. Yay, verily, yay. But when he was doing it, they're like, yay, verily, yay, verily, yay. and of course he gets in front of the king. He's like, I don't really feel like I don't know nonsense. He doesn't listen to him. You know, they knight him anyways, and
So, what do you think of this whole scenery, Tammy? What did you think about the knighting of Danny Kaye's character?
I thought it was quite comical. You know.
Okay. What about you, Boris?
Yeah, it was funny. Like all the tasks he had to do, they made it all ridiculously easy for him just so they could say he passed through it all, while they had their secret agendas, which was a kind of interesting part of it.
Definitely. So he gets knighted, and they set up the battle, and there's a specific thing he's got to remember because Griselda has placed a bottle of something of poison. Tammy, do you remember what it is that they said? It was such a tongue twister.
No.
That must have been one hell of a dialogue to memorize before shooting that scene.
Put up. The poison is in the parcel. Yeah, it's kind of hard to.
No. The pellet with the poisons in the vessel with the palace, the chalice and the palace, and the root that is true. They broke the chalice with the palace and replaced with a flagon with a dragon.
Did you seriously memorize it all?
No, dude. I've watched this movie a million times, man. I've been memorizing this since I was a kid. I used to set my back, but I would always do it. My mother would just look at me like, I don't know how you remember that.
Well,
I've,
yeah.
I've had that memorized since I was a kid.
Well, okay. Maybe if I had watched it as many times as I've seen some other movies, maybe I would have
Yeah,
memorized
I've
it
definitely
too.
seen this movie upwards of in the teens. Not as much as Star Wars. Star Wars is the holds the titles, but yeah, probably more than the sequels. I'm definitely more than the sequels so far. But yeah.
Well, and while he is learning this all I believe the other guy he's going into battle has learnned of this poison.
Yeah, there was
well.
when the witch was telling him about the poison. He overheard everything she was saying, and immediately went over to Griswold to tell him that there's a poison. So he says it perfectly. Tells him with the poisons of the vessel. And tells him then all of a sudden he doesn't remember
He's fucking up.
He's fucking it up, and Danny Kaye's fucking up even more funnier. They're both fucking up and both funny, but Danny Kaye's
of course, right before battle, Danny Kaye's character's armor gets struck by lightning.
Struck by the lightning, which magnetizes it.
So everything that everything that he comes across that is metallic, it sticks to him.
Yeah. So Griswold is holding his helmet, and it keeps bouncing into into Giacomo's armor, and he keeps grabbing it back, and then it pops back to his arm, and he keeps grabbing it back, and then they're and then they see the cups, and they both they're saying the line, and Danny Kaye picks up the vessel with the pestle, and Griswold picks up the dragon of fire and has blue is true, and Danny Kaye's like, no, and I think you have my drink, and they're struggling over the drink for a minute, and the king's like, no drink. So they put them down. He's like, come before me, and they're walking, and Danny Kaye keeps tipping over towards him and Griswold keeps pushes him away, and then he's falling back as he's trying to walk, and he pushes it away, he's falling back at him. Then Griswold, then they put him on the horses, and they tell Griswold, pick your weapon. He says the mace and chain, and then they ask Giacomo to take pick his weapons, and he's like, that looks good, and that looks good, and that looks good. I guess I'll take them all. And the king says, no, give him a mason chain too. So they give him the mason chain, and then they're supposed to start the fight, and the horses go off, and Giacomo is stuck to the hook above because it's metal, and it's dies. And they're like, hurry, get that horse under that fool. Put the horse back under him, and then they pull the hook back so it doesn't get stuck again, and they go off to fight. Then we have the fight scene where Griswold keeps trying to hit Giacomo, and Giacomo keeps dodging him. Then finally he knocks the helmet flying right off, and it was like, oh, it looks like he just chopped his head off, clear off completely. And they're all looking because the armor is still sitting on top of the horse, not moving, but there's no head. Then all of a sudden, he pops his little head up from the armor.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone stopped laughing again. He's still playing the fool. And then Griswold goes to hit him with the mace, and the mace gets stuck to the armor, and he's trying to pull, and Giacomo goes the other way, and Griswold falls off the horse, and then Giacomo manages to get off the horse in the armor pretty well without falling. tries to get his sword, has a little much more trouble doing that, but he finally gets his sword out, and he sticks it into the Griswold that was gonna kill him, and he's like, "Kill me, kill my wretched soul, kill my blah 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 blah." Basically saying to myself, I'm not worthy because you beat me and blah blah blah. I should be dead. And he's like, no, I should not kill you just for your only crime of loving too much. And he's like, take your men and go from this land. Sorry for taking over, but yeah.
Meanwhile, that's okay. This is kind of a movie that know very well.
I do.
So.
I do.
Definitely.
But meanwhile, I believe that the Black Fox has been told of what is going on, and apparently they've blocked the way to go in, except for maybe like small children. So they think, oh yeah, those friends of ours that were offered their help before. Maybe this is a time to call on them, So that's what when we get the fight scene between him and Ravenhurst, Danny Kaye and Ravenhurst, where he keeps getting snapped back and forward again.
And that is so funny because he's so debonair and fighting him, and then the snap, and he's like, ah! He's running around, and then somebody snaps his finger, and he's just a perfect. He can do it perfectly, and then finger gets snapped again, and he's ah!
Your impersonation is hilarious, Tommy.
Yeah, he plays the nervous Nilly very well indeed. I think the cowardly lion way of comedy, I guess.
Yeah, that fight is so great because the witch puts a spell on him to be the best swordsman, and then so he's out fighting him perfectly. Then fingers, he snaps his fingers, or someone snaps their fingers, and he goes back to the bumbling, and he's still fighting him off, but the way he's doing it is just like he's accidentally blocking all the shots. Like he's fleeing for his life, and he's just flailing away with the sword, and he just happens to be blocking all the shots. But he does it so perfectly, it makes it look like he's just an accident all the shots. But that's
he's going.
That takes a lot of.
He's running this way, running that way, he's screaming,
to be able to look like you're losing. So you can definitely tell they both have a lot of skill with the sword. And it is absolutely hilarious. And he's back to, I love the scene where he honks the nose of him, and he's like, and he cuts the candle in half, and then Giacomo cuts 5 candles, and they still stay there, and he's like, ha ha, and then he blows on them, and they all fall down, fall over. And of course, the scene, where he's like, "You mind?" And he picks up a pitcher of drink, and he's just like insulted. He's like, "Why, you scourge?"
Because
he's pouring a drink and fighting him off, and they're not even looking at him. He's fighting him off. Then he's drinking, and he's like, "A toast to your health." And he's like, everything he says is just pissing him off more. He's getting so frustrated with him.
And then, of course, then we get the scene where all the small people drop in on them from above, and then they're just being passed along the staircase.
Well, they get the baby up to the midgets too, and also also a Jean, and they save them, and Giacomo is fighting, actually fighting on his own, on his own without any being bewitched. He's helping fight the knights, and they're taking out the knights, and they're all moving all the knights around on their feet and bouncing them around until they get to the giant catapult, where Jean comes over and she's flinging them out. And I love how you see them fling, and then you watch what they show every one of them going into the water. You can completely tell that it's a dummy going into the water. A dummy dressed up as the knights, and
Right.
it's so funny how you see these dummies, because 1955 they didn't have a lot of special effects, but yeah, I actually think they purposely showed it to add to the humor of the movie, because it was funny. It was really funny. You see them being thrown, and all of a sudden it's a dummy falling into the water. And it's just
people didn't know it was a dummy probably when they first saw the film.
Oh, I'm sure they had to have. I did when I was a kid. I mean, you can clearly tell it's a dummy. I mean, it's a person on the catapult. They fling it, and then they specifically show the scene. Like, if they didn't show the scene of the knights going into the water, I would believe that to be true. But they purposely did that, so they were trying to make fun of the fact that they couldn't
or maybe they were they were ultimately calling them dummies.
That too. that too. Either way works well for the movie. And like I said, I think it just makes it funnier, because I laughed every time I saw one of the knights go into the water and as a dummy, and even when Ravenhurst finally got it. Yeah. And he went flying, you could tell.
That was a great scene where Ravenhurst was flung to.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What I love though, we forgot to mention is even though Ashley found out that he says he was the Black Fox, and the princess is there, and she doesn't care. Like, I don't know if she thinks there's gonna be something romantic with them, or she just thinks he's like, he deserves to live. But she still tells Griselda, if he dies, you die. Like, even though he's the Black Fox, he's the enemy. Like, she still wants him to live, which I thought was kind of selfish, because you don't see her trying to get with him again after that. Like she accepted that she's not going to be with him, but she still cared about him. So she still she loved him, even though she's a spoiled brat. She still cared for him, even more than her Griselda. So and then thank goodness, because he probably would have flubbed up at some point and lost the battle, even though it was expertly done both ways. So I just want to point that out, because it was definitely uncharacteristic of the princess, but you actually see that she does have a heart, and you could tell even though they're supposed to be the enemy. I think she cared more for the enemy than she did her own father. Like, she knew her father was a tyrant. Like, she never said it, but it was like, you could think she knew, even though she was spoiled, and she probably knew she was spoiled, but she thought, she knew her father was a tyrant, not a good man. So,
Yeah.
So she wasn't quite as bad as she was portrayed throughout the whole movie. She actually did have heart at the end, and she was caring. And I love how they show Griswold comes back as they won, and then Griswold comes back and we'll be slaughtered, and they come in, and then Hawkins you swore to uphold the true king, and blah blah blah, and he's like, yes. And they show they bring the baby and show him the royal mark Pimpernel, and he bows down to the baby and says, "Your Majesty." And then they show all his men, and they bow down. And then he shows the fake king, And he looks and he shows him again, and finally he bows and says, "Your Majesty." He didn't want to bow, but
I love how he walks around and he keeps, pulling the cloth down. Look, and he walks. Look,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I love how that end scene. They're all singing. Like even the king is singing, like happily better be, and the whole cast is singing. The king and the princess and Griselda and Griswold. The entire cast is singing that final song. Thought that was really interesting the way they did that.
Yeah, although I kind of have one problem with the ending. It's that we don't get to know what happened with some characters after all this.
Well, they just said they'll be happily ever after. So basically, he gets Jean. They get married. They probably raise the king. Basically they're running the kingdom with the Black Fox and everything while the king grows up. And you assume the king comes from a good royal family. Like I guess there were decent kings. Obviously, the whole of England, loved that royal family. So you figure that the kid will grow up to be a really good king. A decent king that everyone will love. And the fake king will probably get imprisoned, at some point. And the princess maybe will finally find her true love, maybe the real Black Fox or something. You never know. Like I said, she already see that she doesn't really care for her father. So that's what I think.
Yeah, but I especially wanted to know what happened with her after her father lost the throne.
I agree. I wanted to know what happened to her too, but like I said, I think of it as she probably ended up finding someone else, and like I said, maybe the Black Fox. I mean, because he does show up, and she thought she loved the Black Fox, but he was really more like what she was looking for anyways. So even though he didn't know her, so I think that you can guess that maybe they met and maybe they actually fell for each other and they got married. Because she wasn't gonna marry Griswold. There's no way.
No.
Yeah.
And obviously, Jean and the Danny Kaye's character were kind of affianced already before they even began
that's what I said. They obviously had the happy ending. They got married, like I said, and I think they probably raised the baby because she seemed to be the only female in the whole of the camp. They didn't show any other females at all. And typically, even though she was more of the fighter and he was the caregiver, still they want the royal king to have parents. So since he didn't have his own, I would guess that they probably adopted the king.
The midgets in here were the Hermione's midgets. At least that's what the IMDb calls them. I think that they were only known for this movie, but I could have sworn that some of the voices were like.
There's a few of them. I think I've seen in other stuff. Probably
like the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, they definitely.
But Billy Curtis,
they were probably one of the ones that were in the Wizard of Oz and they got fired. Do you know that they end up having to use children mostly for the Wizard of Oz because the midgets kept saying "Ding dong, the bitch is dead," and they had to replace the midgets with children. Funny little story with the Wizard of Oz.
But Billy Curtis was named amongst them, and I was looking at some of the things that he was in. He was in High Plains Drifter as Mordecai, and The Terror of Tiny Town. He was in. He was the Mole Man in Superman versus the Mole Man, which was a He was also Mr. Zero in the Adventures of Superman, so he's no stranger to the Superman series. But he was in Superman versus the Mole-Man as Mole-Man in the 15 chapter serial that was before Christopher or Steve Reeves' character.
George Reeves.
George Reeves. I was thinking around that era. But yeah. Also, High Plains Drifter, great movie. Just seeing Billy Curtis's name in there just takes me back a little bit. But the lady who played Griselda, she I have seen in The Quiet Man with John Wayne, which that is the film that I want us to watch next week. So, but before we get into all that jazz, let's go into. I think we've kind of covered most of the plot. Let's go into production. Let's talk. How did y'all think the production went? What about you, Tammy?
I thought it was really good. I mean, for its time, there weren't, really special effects. Like, we realized that those are dummies going over the thing, and but I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought they, used everything that they had available to make things very realistic and fun, and the props were great. The scenery was great.
Okay. What about you, Boris? What did you think about the production value of this film?
I pretty much agree with Tammy. I mean, it was made at the time when CGI didn't exist, as far as I know, and things were probably much more difficult to portray than they are nowadays. Yet they managed to make everything look the way it should. Okay, you guys apparently noticed in the catapult scene that they were using dummies. I didn't notice that myself, I have to admit. So I think it was all pretty well done. The costumes were really cool and everything. Yeah, definitely. For the time when it was made, well, even regardless of the time, I can't remember noticing any scene where something wasn't done the way it should have been. So it was pretty good, I would say.
I have to go with you, Crawl, next. What did you think about the production?
Yeah, not even just for a time, because I've seen plenty of medieval type of movies that didn't have dragons or magic, where they had to have special effects, and they didn't do any better. As a matter of fact, some of them didn't even do as good. These are movies that come out in the 80s and stuff. So, and that was 30 years later. So, they did such a great job, and like I said, the only one scene where you knew it was fake with the dummies, and like I said, I think it was done on purpose, because like I said, they purposely showed those bodies, and it was definitely for a reason, whether it was to say, yeah, they're dummies, or to just make fun of the fact that they're using dummies, or whatever it was definitely done on purpose, because they, if they were trying to go for just realism on that shot, they wouldn't have shown them falling into the water, because you definitely can tell that it's dummies. And like I said, I just think that's funny in itself, that they use
Yeah,
dummies, and then they purposely showed you that. So there's the costumes were great. Like I said, very very vivid costumes. Very vivid colors. everything. Giacomo's, with the only exception is when he first shows up into the town area, is kind of a little bit dreary because they're all being oppressed by the tyrant, and you got that guy in the walk, and who's going off to be maybe executed or whatever, and just you definitely tell. This is the section that gets the worst of it. The town right by the castle itself. Because he's a tyrant, so he doesn't treat his people well, and so they feel it the most because they're right there, with the king, and we love his facial expressions as he's looking around too. He's just like singing a song, and he's like kind of stops the whistle or does it kind of small as he's looking around like, oh crap, like look what's going on here. He knew he was tired and wanted to get rid of him, but this is horrible. And yeah, so I mean the production was just absolutely phenomenal, and like yes for his time, because 30 years later some of the movies they made weren't better. So some, not all. I mean, yeah, there are definitely some great ones, but yeah. So definitely, it stands up for the test of time. I mean, it's done in like a medieval type. So there you don't, and there's no dragons or I mean, the only magic is the witch, and she just bewitches people. And the way they did that was, I mean, they didn't go with any like weird things. Just Danny Kaye's eyes like popped up, which made sense. So they didn't need to have any like CGI special effects with the magic or anything. They showed what she did in her power just by doing what they did, and it was perfect. It was completely believable that she bewitched him, and you could tell that he was being bewitched in his eyes and everything, and it was just awesome, So that's my thoughts on production.
I thought that the production was pretty good for the time, and I do think it kind of has, for a movie, seen it in this time, stood the test of time, because there is some dialogue in here that I'd never heard of before this film. I mean, tongue twisting dialogue that you almost wonder, is there some like cut of like Danny Kaye actually like fucking up somewhere, like on tape somewhere that we could get like so that we know that he wasn't like this perfectly tongue twisted talented guy, because he is a wordsmith. If he got all of these on like the first take,
Definitely.
Like I said, I think he had a lot of it. I really think that some of his lines were obviously written, but I think a lot of the really funny scenes, like especially when he was in court and he was talking to the king and stuff, I think a lot of that was ad-libbed. Because back then it was a lot more common for the actors to just ad-lib it, especially in comedies. I mean, even Robin Williams was known for ad-libbing a lot of it. And a lot of comedians are known for ad-libbing. That's what makes them great comedians. That people write them and write some funny stuff for them, but then the comedian takes it and they go off with what they wrote and they put their own spin on it, and that's why they get cast in all these funny stuff and stuff, because they do it so well and everyone laughs and loves it. So
I love the costume design behind most of these characters. I mean, even in the who outfoxed the fox song. I mean, to be able to make the exact same suit for like the many different people that were involved in that and all of a sudden, like, he was talking about where there was one of me, there's two of me, there's three of me, there's four of me.
Yeah.
5, 6, 7. Sorry, no more.
And
Yeah,
then you
it
realize, that they were all these like small little people underneath all that. Suddenly, it was not just 4 people; it was like a multitude of people, like underneath, like 3 or 4 different people on in that suit. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I enjoyed the sets and the different props. I like the fact that they could hide the child in that wine barrel and look at it from underneath. I love the fact that Danny Kaye could like dress up as like this old man and pull it off. You know, to a certain extent, be like a kind of like take some tips from Lon Chaney.
Yeah, and Gene did a really well job as pretending to sign language. I don't think she actually did like real sign language. I don't know sign language. I'm not sure, but I don't think she did. But she made it look like she was. She made it look
Yeah.
good. And I just go back to that scene of him, her sighing for like 2 minutes straight, and then what'd she say? No. What difference alone? Stutters. Like she's sign language and she's stuttering like so, and the guard didn't think nothing of that, which I'm like any intelligent person would be like, wait a minute. And the guard actually seemed to be intelligent because he recognized him later, but at that point he was just not that intelligent.
No.
And I love how also with back to that scene, we didn't mention this too. He had needed help getting down, like he was old, decrepit, and then when they said, "Okay, you can go," he hops up on the thing, and the guy looks at him like kind of, but doesn't really say anything. Like he needed to get this help, getting down, but he just hops straight up there like he's nice and young and fertile. So
Mm-hmm.
hilarious. There's a lot of little things in this movie you could definitely miss only watching it 1 or 2 times. I actually the part where they're all singing together, I don't actually remember that. So either this is the first time I noticed it, or it just didn't stand up enough for me to remember. But I mean, I said I've seen this movie a lot of times, but I think that might have been something new that I caught this time. So as many times there's just there's so much dialogue, so much action, and so much happening at the same time that there's little things that you can easily miss, and that is just great. Like there's no if there's any mistakes in the movie, I've never noticed it. I mean, I never go and look for them, but I'm usually pretty good at spotting them. So is my mother. She's even better than I've been, and she's never said anything about any kind of mistakes. I mean, everything that was seen to be done by accident was done on purpose by accident. You know what I mean? So, and they made it look like that. So, like I said, it was a perfectly done movie. It was just perfect. Whether I mean, there might be someone that's maybe that's not their cup of tea, not the type of comedy, or they don't. I mean, everyone likes probably some type of comedy or whatever, but it's definitely a spoof, and not everyone may like that. But if you enjoy spoof at all, this is definitely one of the best movies. And like I said, as funny as Robin Hood Men in Tights was, and I absolutely love that with Carrie Ells did an awesome job. And he actually has a real English accent, unlike some other Robin Hoods. And,
Okay.
But
so before we go into favorites, I just wanted to say some of the goofs that IMDb says that were in the film.
Okay. So I guess
as the jester is to enter the banquet, he realizes the child is in the basket. As he is escaping, a guard stops him. At minutes and 17 seconds, the guard shoves him into the banquet hall by spinning him clockwise. Yet as he enters the hall, the jester is spinning counterclockwise.
Oh, I just didn't even notice that.
During Hawkins' sword fight with Ravenhurst, Hawkins cuts the candles in half with a swipe of his sword. As the candle pieces fall off, the portions of the candles that remain appear to have been cut at an angle, and the cut portions fall out of view. As the scene cuts to Ravenhurst, then back to Hawkins, the angle of the cut candles is gone, and the candles appear level and to have been cut in half evenly, with some of the cut sections on the table.
Again, did not notice that either.
Neither did I. When Sir Griswold and Hawkins walk to the table for the toast, their shadows cover the drinking vessels. When there is a close-up of the cups, the knights' shadows are gone, and the shadows of the cups are now falling towards the knights. In the next shot, the knights' shadows are over the cups again. See, these are like if someone like literally like watches these.
Like, and there are people that do that. I mean, there are people that do that professionally, but then there are people that just do that because that's the way they are, and they want to fault in the movie.
Here's a couple more just for kicks and giggles. During the tournament between Sir Griswold and Hawkins, when Sir Griswold lops off Hawkins' helmet, the helmet's visor opens and a head can be seen inside the helmet. Then Hawkins' head is shown emerging from his armor. During the tournament, Sir Griswold's mace is clearly flexible. During Hubert's big outfox the fox number with the little people, he leaps into a tree and then runs down a thinning branch, which is clearly supported at its ends by two metal struts. In the next shot, these struts are hidden behind the little people as they form a human pyramid, which Hubert is on top of. And one more. So during Hawkins and Ravenhurst's fight, the safety buttons on the tips of their swords are visible in some shots. Evidently, that's a bad thing. Alrighty. So let's go into favorite scenes. Tammy, I'm going to start with you. What was a favorite scene and let's say favorite character?
I'd say one of my favorite scenes is the sword fight, because he's going back and forth from being this great debonair, just he can fight like crazy, fight the best, and then somebody snaps his fingers and he's it's I like that whole scene because he's back and forth and it's just funny. It's got to be one of my favorites.
And favorite character?
And definitely Danny Kaye's character.
Okay. What about you, Boris? Is there a favorite scene, and would there be a favorite character for you?
Well, my favorite character would probably be Hawkins as well. My favorite scene, well, I also liked the sword fight, as Tammy said, but I also liked the scenes with Griselda casting a spell on Hawkins and all the mess that came out of it and how they resolved it. That was an interesting part of the movie. And I was going to say one more, but now I can't remember.
What would your you already said your favorite character. Let's go over to you, Kroll, and if you think of any more, then you can let us know. Kroll, right. Favorite scene, favorite character.
Okay, so Hawkins' favorite character. Giacomo Hawkins, he just loves all his characters he plays. as the old man, as the Black Fox, as Giacomo, and as himself. Just steals all the scenes. I mean, well, he's the main character, but nobody steals it from him, as well as everybody, all the supporting cast was for him, and the villain and everything, and like I said, how good of Basil Rathbone is as a swordsman. He still nobody stole the scenes from him. So that definitely he's my favorite character. Now, as far as scenes, I usually can tell you one or two scenes, or maybe three, in any movie I watch. Honestly, I cannot. There's way more scenes. Almost the entire movie is my favorite scenes. There's a few scenes that aren't, but it'd be easy to tell you the ones that aren't than to tell you the ones that are. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say that I'll tell you the one that stands out the most is the Palette with the Poison Vessel, Chalice from Chalice, the Bruise is True. They both Chalice from Chalice plays with Flag on the Dragon. Because the first thing I memorized, and when I think of Court Jester, it's the first thing that pops in my mind. Then it's probably Yay Verily Yay, and like all the other things pop in my mind. But the Palette with the Poison Vessel Pestle is the one that stands out the most. So I'd have to go with that one as far as standing out the most. But as far as favorites, there's too many to name. Almost every scene is my favorite.
I'm going to have to say my favorite character is Danny Kaye's. Unfortunately, he steals the scene in whatever movie that he's in. To be honest, he stands out as a character, and I like his comedy. I like the way that he can tongue twist through anything and word for word make us laugh. In whatever he does, because he can play the fool and make us laugh. As far as favorite scene, I love that court scene with him. Just the way that he portrays when I was just a child, the whole Jester moment, how he explained how he became a jester, and he really became the person that he donned the uniform for, and he made people laugh, and that's what counted, and he made the non-believers believe in him, and I think that was kind of in testament to his character. As far as any other favorites, yeah, I would have to say the whole pestle with the vessel scene. That was cool, and definitely the moments where he played the swordsman and whatnot. It's hard to pick just one favorite scene because there are plenty of favorites in here.
It was also a funny moment when Griselda cast a spell on him to become a better swordsman, and then when he was battling Gravenhurst, he was just like waving that sword without even looking at Ravenhurst like it's nothing.
with one hand.
Yeah.
I can fight you with one hand.
Well, she didn't make him into a better swordsman. She said the world's best swordsman. So she made him into the best swordsman. It just goes back to there's a thing where they say someone hypnotized could be hypnotized to actually be a great sportsman, or great at sports or whatever. Even though normally you don't have that talent, it's because your brain controls your skills, and your brain thinks you can do it. You can do it. And
if anyone can make Danny Kaye look like a better swordsman than Basil Rathbone,
it's Basil.
These directors could do it.
Well, it was Basil Rathbone that did the. I mean, not. I mean, Danny Kaye did such an awesome job, but Basil Rathbone obviously had to do a lot of work too to make it look like, especially when Danny Kaye wasn't even looking at him fighting with one hand. He had to make it look like he was getting his butt kicked, and the inferior swordsman when he was the superior. It's kind of like wrestling in a way. How they have the jobber or the one guy that makes the other one look better. And the one that wins make it look better. Whether whoever should have is better. And that's it's definitely awesome the way they did that. Just phenomenal work. I mean, it was like we said before, it's during a time when actors didn't just act, they acted, they sung, they was in this movie, they swordsmanship. I mean, they learned how to do these things.
They were multi-talented.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Be able to show,
if they didn't know how to do it, then they learned. And there's been some other films where they've learned how to sword fight. Like Star Wars movies and other movies. The actors would actually go and learn how to do these things. I mean, some movies they would have stunt doubles do some things, but for the most part, and some of them would even do their own. But this time period, it was just like there was no doubles. This was the actor was doing everything themselves. They learned to dance. They did the dancing. They did the swordsmanship. They did the everything. The riding on the horse and everything. I mean.
Mm-hmm.
No, I wouldn't even know how to ride on a horse. I mean, I don't know if Danny Kaye did, but obviously he learned. Even when he made it look like he didn't know how to ride on the horse, he was still on the horse. Even when he wasn't even looking and his head was in the suit, he was still right on that horse perfectly. So I'm sure there might be some outtakes where he's fallen off the horse in that metal, which might have hurt, but. Yeah, it definitely, they weren't just actors then. They really, and like I said, some actors go the extra mile now still. But like all the main kind of actors and actresses, they all did it then. They were all multi-talented people.
Is there anything else that anyone wants to add to this film before we go into our outros?
I have one thing I want to say.
Okay. And then if you could lead the outros as well while I go and investigate the bathroom.
Okay, good luck with that, whatever is going on. So what I was going to say was when they catapulted Ravenhurst away, that was almost a spoodow.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
that was definitely a spit out. Spoodow!
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 You like that joke too, huh?
Spoodow!
Spoodow!
It's catchy.
Right? Okay, so looks like Dave heard a bit of this.
I wouldn't be surprised if a few years from now you're talking to me and all of a sudden I'll just be like "Spoodow" or something. I generally I pick up things that other people say a lot, especially the weirder it is, the more I'm inclined to remember it and stuff. There's stuff that I think about that, like my friend Dion used to say, "Motherless minerals," which no clue what the hell that means, but it's cool, and I still think of it as at times, and then of course I've known people calling people asshats, and that stuck a lot. So I'm kind of a word chameleon You know, I pick up people's words and then all of a sudden I start using them as my own. So
Honestly,
Yeah.
if you're around people a lot, especially if you're like in a discussion or whatnot, sometimes like things people say will rub off on you, and it's like some are good, some are bad.
Well, would you say Spudao is good or bad?
spit out is good.
It's one of those
Thanks.
weird ones that because we know that you specifically say it, it's kind of like one that I think we kind of remember you by it. That and the fact that your feathers is as long as your tails.
Hoot hoot.
But anyways, you were saying.
What I was saying was when they catapulted Ravenhurst, that was almost a Spudao.
And I said, "Oh, it was spit out," and I was going and saying spit out.
Yeah, Spudao. We only haven't heard Tabby say Spudao.
But
Well, yeah, as
You
that
know,
liquid,
I
liquid
definitely
went
could
down
see.
your throat.
You know where I can see spit out? In the
Yes.
old Batman TV show when they were showing all the words "bam" and stuff. Like I can see spit out being one of them. And Batman's hitting somebody.
Or you could see it on some of those old 8-bit games too. There's a game that I used to
Kung
play called
Fu.
Deja Vu. And whenever you came across a bum or a lady with a purse, you punched them and it said blam or Sacco or something like that.
Oh. Spit out.
Wow.
I could see it popping up on the screen there. Yes. So it could be a comic book reaction.
Yes, definitely.
or when I was working and I'd come home after working all day and I'd walk into the living room after David been here all day and see the mess. Spit out.
No, that was a good Spudao.
That's every time Sassy would go by one of my DVD stacks. Spoodow! I'd be organizing my movies and I'd have them in stacks, and she would like rub her whiskers up against the stacks, and all of a sudden you would see timber.
Does a stack of movies make a sound if nobody's around to hear it when it falls?
Yes, it
Oh,
does. We were in the bedroom the one time.
But so you
And
were
he
still
had a-
around because you heard it.
We still heard it.
Right, but if you weren't there in the house, it makes still make a sound.
Well, in any case, let's go around and figure out who we are. So, Tammy, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
I'm David Stragy's reluctant fiance, and but I enjoy going on here. And
If you're being held without against your will, nod. We'll send some help.
I'm like Johnny Mnemonic with the Three Ninjas.
And I love going on I like going on the podcast and this other one that I go on Tuesday nights, and I've enjoyed watching the different movies that I probably might not have even watched before, and learning about them and hanging out with everybody. And I have my own collections, and it's just been a lot of fun.
Okay. Going over to Boris. Why don't you tell us a bit about yourself and what you do?
So, my real name is Philip. Some of you may know Boris is my nickname based on a character I played in Joe Sherlock's horror anthology, Dark Zone 13. I'm a big fan of horror movies, and I'm an unpublished writer. Well, except for a poetry book I have on Amazon called Baphomet and Duality. If anyone wants to check it out. Aside from that, I don't know what else to say. I also like to do some Photoshop and video editing and so on. And I guess that would be it. Um,
David, we can't hear you.
yeah, I thought
Crow, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Well, my real name is Ron. Crow comes from a video game, EverQuest 2, where I was Crower, wizard, and everyone just called me Crow on there for short. And my buddy Mo, he started calling me Crow. Even we talked on voice chat, and he still called me Crow. And then 10 years later, he's still calling me Crow. So just kind of stuck that for things I do on voice chat and other things, I'm Crow. I kind of pick that name in every kind of game I play now. So I'm some form of Crow, and so it's my other name, my alias. So if I ever get arrested and they ask me if I have an alias, I'll now have to say yes, I do. But anyways, I enjoy watching movies. Enjoy watching TV shows. I've never been a collector of either. I used to move a lot and lost things, so I was like, I don't want to collect things just to lose them, and I never really had like too much of a permanent address, too much. So yeah, it's just kind of a thing that I never did. Even though same with my mother, she actually was a collector. She first videotapes. I'm not sure what happened. She used to record everything, all kinds of movies. She'd have like 4 movies on every video cassette. She's about the 8-hour ones, the most inexpensive, and she'd record everything. So she had a huge collection. But I'm not sure exactly. I'm not sure what happened to those. She didn't have them anymore. But she did have a bunch of DVDs and Blu-rays that I have now and will be inheriting from my sister. Picked them up, and she's going to be giving them all to me. So I will have a small collection finally of physical media. I have a couple movies here and there, but yeah, definitely not really any kind of collection until this. I'm not even sure exactly what I'm getting. So I know first 7 seasons of Big Bang Theory because I bought that for my mom.
Well, I'm a kind of collector myself as well.
Yeah, everyone's a collector except for me, So, but now I finally jumped on the bandwagon a little bit. So, yeah. So I don't work because I'm disabled. So
well, now you don't feel like the odd man. Now you don't feel like the odd man out as much as.
Well, I'm still not a YouTuber, or have anything to do with movies. So I'm still odd with that. I only watch movies. I'm only a huge fan of movies. I mean, but
you enjoy
I'm pretty knowledgeable when it comes to movies, and I usually, even if I don't get the movie, I can tell you what I watched. I might be not.
And you can probably say what you didn't like out of a film too.
Yeah, I mean, there's one movie in particular where I can't say I liked it or didn't like it because I'm still confused about what I watched. But I can tell you what I watched. Still didn't tell you exactly, my thoughts on what I watched, except for I did enjoy it enough to want to keep watching it. But other than that, it was just definitely one of those films where, kind of like a Pulp Fiction type movie. Because I remember the first time I saw that, I was kind of like, what? What did I watch? And then after the second time, I started enjoying it. And then further time down the line, I really enjoyed it. But it's the person that directed Pulp Fiction was influenced by Tarantino. Yeah, was influenced by the director of the other movie. So, Dave, I'm sure you know the movie I'm talking about because you were there for it. So, I
Probably
think
Robert Rodriguez movie, right?
I'm not sure. I can't think of the name of it, but it was that weird movie where he's like a young person, and you know it's like a different person, but he's young and he gets out of jail and he's young and you know what I'm talking about because he killed his wife.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the movie either. So but it was definitely one of those films where I was just like, what I watch, like, and like I could not answer if I liked it or not. I mean, I liked it enough that I was interested, so I can't say I hated it, but still, I was like, yeah, I don't get it. It was explained what it was actually about, which made sense, I guess. But yeah, definitely a weird way they did it. But enjoyable. I mean, definitely not something like those kind of movies. Are not something I'd want to watch all the time. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
mysteries and things like that, things to solve. But movies that are completely out of order and bouncing back and forth, um, tend to are just so confusing that I don't care to watch those a lot. TV shows do it a little bit, but they tend to usually do it better. As in, they for the most part, most TV shows you can tell that they're going back and forward. The Witcher is one that at the first time I watched it, it was kind of like, wait, are they in the past or now? Type thing. It was confusing a little bit. And I never played the games, and I guess if you played the games, it was a lot easier to understand. But that was good too. So second season wasn't really like that though.
Well, next week I wanted us to cover one of my favorite John Wayne movies, since Griselda reminded me of her role, and I just love the comedy that is between John Wayne and Catherine O'Hara. I think that's her name. But in any case, hopefully you guys liked the choice that I made, and we'll be doing this same time next week. So that would be The Quiet Man. I would stay as noisy as you could until next week. In any case, like, share, and subscribe.
Wow.
And we'll see y'all next week. Hopefully, you get a chance to let us know down in the comments what you thought of our thoughts of this particular film.
Yeah.
We'll see you in the funny papers.
And remember, get it, got it, good.